Good evening, everyone. We'll call the meeting to order, and we'll begin with the land acknowledgement statement. We acknowledge the ground on which we live is the traditional territory of Caldwell First Nation, of the Three Fires Confederacy, and the original people of Point Pelee and Pelee Island, and its surrounding lands and waters, and that of the Huron-Wendat and Wyandot peoples. We recognize and respect the First Nations who are stewards of the land and waters of Turtle Island, and who have embraced this stewardship since time immemorial. We would also like to acknowledge the contributions of other nearby First Nation communities and all original people across Turtle Island. We'll now have a moment of silent reflection, followed by the playing of a national anthem. Please stand for the playing of the national anthem. If we can begin with an adoption of our agenda for May 27th, 2025. Moved by Councillor Riccio Spagnolo, support by Councillor Burns. All in favor? And that carries. Any disclosures of opinion or interest? There being none, if you have any during the meeting, please let us know. An adoption of our minutes for the public planning meeting and the regular meeting of council held May 13th, 2025 be adopted as presented. Moved by Councillor Reno, support by Councillor Riccio Spagnolo. All in favor? You have a question? Sure.
It would go to the treasurer just for clarification. I know in the presentation that the chief made, he suggested it would be approximately $6 million with roughly, I think, $775 being paid by the fire department, and I don't see that in this report. Can that come when we go for request for proposal? So it's really not $6 million. It's probably to the police is about 5.3.
Absolutely. Once we get that costing for the individual radios and whatnot, we'll break that out by department and report back.
Thank you very much. I appreciate that.
Okay, so all in favor of receiving those? And that carries. Mayor's comments, just a few. I want to start by congratulating our staff. It's always a great way to start our meeting when we have a successful event like we did on the weekend with the LaSalle Night Market. It was a huge success with over 80 vendors, I think is what it was said, 80 vendors at the event, but it was so well attended, and we were very fortunate to have great weather that weekend. The entertainment was fantastic, and I don't know if anyone realized who were there that we had 2 different forms of entertainment, which is fantastic. So now there's music throughout the entire facility, and I think people really enjoyed it, and we are definitely looking forward to the next few that we have here over at Town Hall. Just want to remind everyone tomorrow, which is the 28th, from 4 to 7 p.m., we'll be celebrating the grand opening of our LaSalle Fire Station 2, which is located at 2190 Front Road, and it will be a family-friendly open house with a ribbon-cutting ceremony at 5 p.m., and we encourage everyone to come out, celebrate this important milestone, and tour the new fire hall. Tonight marks our last regular meeting before the LaSalle Strawberry Festival. And we're looking for volunteers to help clean strawberries on Wednesday, June, I want to say it's the 4th. I have 5th written down, but now I'm doubting myself. Next Wednesday at the, it is the 4th? Okay, next Wednesday, June 4th at the Event Center starting at 6 p.m. And it's a great opportunity to lend a hand, be involved in the community, earn volunteer hours, and just be a part of our cherished community tradition. So come on out and help if you're able to. And finally, tickets for the Strawberry Festival, which will take place next weekend from June 5th to 8th at the Vollmer Complex, are now available online. It promises to be a fantastic weekend full with entertainment for the whole family. Please visit our website or Facebook page for more information on that weekend, as well as the annual parade, which goes down Front Road on Saturday. So thank you all, and I look forward to our upcoming events. It's a busy summer coming up. We have no public meetings and or hearings, so we're going to go into item 1, which is our LaSalle Friendship Club, and we have Joanne Drouillard, the president of LaSalle Friendship Club, here joining us today. Did you want to speak first? You don't have to, either one. Just hit the button right in front.
I'm a senior, I don't know this
That's
stuff.
okay, you're good.
Yeah, I'm here to present the town of LaSalle this token of our appreciation, $1,500 for the privilege of being able to use the room across the hall. We have 300 members now. We built it way up since COVID. And it's a lot of seniors that are living alone and can't socialize, so you gave us the chance 6 days a week to come here and do something together, and they all really appreciate it. Okay, so I want to thank you for everyone on our members.
Thank you very much. We love having you here in the building with us. We're happy that you're here 6 days a week and that your club's growing since COVID. That's fantastic. And hopefully you'll be able to take part in some of the activities that are coming up. Oh gosh, do you have a date you could throw at me right now?
Well,
June 18th?
I will, our group will be there. Mara has been in touch with us.
Great.
We had a cribbage lesson and a pepper lesson through the funding that they got from the government, and we took care of that for the town. So
thank you very much.
We had 27 people on Wednesday to learn how to play pepper. So
That's great. Congratulations, and thank you for being such a great partner with us. So if you want to come
no
forward.
problem.
Okay. At item H1 is our staff reports and correspondence for council action with the Strategic Plan 2050 update and approval. We have our Director of Strategy and Engagement, Ms. Hodre, and I'm assuming you're going to introduce everyone else? All right, turn it over to you.
Thank you, Mayor Merlash. The report tonight has our hopefully final strategic plan. We presented the update to council back in March. Since then, that draft plan was presented to staff through a number of workshops that we held, and it was presented to the community through a digital survey that was available. All of that feedback was pulled together, and Strategy Corps analyzed that. They provided a validation and feedback memo, which was attached to the report as well. So tonight with us presenting the final strategic plan is Chris Loretto and Olivia Leahy, both from Strategy Corps, and they will lead us through the changes that have been made through the plan. Thank you.
Thank you, and thank you, Your Worship. And it's great to be with council virtually this evening. I apologize. I wanted to make it down in person, but unfortunately, a stomach bug started by my youngest has prevented me from being there. So I apologize. But again, I want to say from the top, really appreciate this opportunity again to work with the town of LaSalle to refresh its strategic plan under its 30-year vision for the development of the municipality. what I want to say off the top is that since last time we had the opportunity to get together to look through the draft of the strategic plan that went out for public validation, that the feedback that was received from the public and from staff within the municipality was almost entirely positive, in that there were no substantive changes to the draft of the strategic plan that was with council last time. If we can progress to just the first slide. So I will keep my comments brief here and just refresh council on the elements of the strategy and what direction is being set under the strategy that is before council for approval. There, in addition to the summary memo on the feedback from the validation sessions, is a long form on desktop published version of the full plan, which subsequent to council approval will be desktop published and be made available for posting on the website and for sharing amongst staff and with the community. So here on this slide is the strategic plan on a page. And as I said, nothing significant was changed through the validation process. Largely, everybody felt confident and understood the vision, mission, and the values. Through the process of working with council and with town staff, we brought a little bit more definition to some of these elements and or refined some of the definitions of what we mean, particularly by what each value represents, so that there's additional clarity for the organization, and therefore easier to live out and to represent to the residents of LaSalle. There are 4 core strategic directions that are set out under the plan, each with 3 goals, with the exception of the organization and culture, only 2 goals there. And each of these goals is supported by a set of initiatives that aim to provide a direction from council to staff on the types of things to be the focus of budget and operational planning in order to achieve the goals under each direction and continue to advance the development and evolution and growth of the municipality. So the 4 strategic directions here are around public services and infrastructure, continuing to deliver high quality municipal services that are innovative, adaptive, and responsive to the needs, the evolving needs of the community. Community connections, and very pleased to be able to see the presentation to council in advance of ours. That is the kind of stuff that this pillar is really meant to continue to promote and support within the community, and making sure that the community stays connected with residents staying connected to each other. That the town's relationships with its key partners and that its approach to engaging the community and its partners is sound and inclusive in developing shared priorities for the town and ensuring that LaSalle continues to be a community that provides an unmatched quality of life. The third pillar here, and again, these pillars aren't in any order of priority, but economic and community vibrancy. That's about creating the conditions to encourage local investment, diversify local economic growth, and foster a safe and dynamic community with safe and dynamic neighborhoods that attract and retain local businesses as well as residents. And then the 4th pillar is around the corporation's organization and the culture, and ensuring that the town's leadership, its staff, and culture are structured and resourced to ensure that you're able to deliver service excellence to your residents and to your stakeholders, and that the organization continues to be resilient and able to respond to resident and stakeholder needs during good times and during not so great times as well. And so each of these are explained in some detail in the full draft. Everything reflects the work that has been done together with council and staff in the community. And the focus really has been to make sure that we're developing a strategic plan that is in and of itself focused and sets out a manageable number of goals with some clear direction and or guideline, clear direction, I should say, that for how council and staff are going to work together and also work with the community to make these things happen. So I'll just conclude with summarizing again, what Dawn set out in her introductory comments to this presentation. If we can go to the next slide, Olivia. We did do validation on the plan that I just went through with both folks internal to the town of LaSalle's organization and also the public. For the staff feedback, we collected feedback directly from staff through 3 validation workshops with representative staff from across the organization and all levels of the organization, where we guided participants through the proposed updates to the vision, mission, values, and the strategic directions to get their feedback. More than 75 staff members participated across all 3 workshops, and there continues to be a high level of staff support and engagement with the strategic plan for the municipality. From a public validation perspective, we collected public feedback through a digital survey that was hosted by ourselves and advertised through the town's regular channels, including your social media channels. And again, much like with the engagement early on in the process, we had a high degree of participation in the survey. We had 800 plus visitors and received 394 complete responses. And over 95% of those came from participants who described themselves as full-time residents of LaSalle. So for a generally available survey where the public needs to opt in, this is a really strong response number and consistent with the level of public engagement that we've had through the development of this strategic plan refresh. And so, as I said, the summary was that from both the staff and the public, that there was a strong support for the refreshed strategic framework. I think folks appreciated the additional precision that was set out and are comfortable and aligned with the set of priorities that this refresh plan lays out for council and staff to focus on over the next number of years. And this aligns with, the fact that through the process we came to understand just how appreciative, I think, and proud that the residents of the town and other stakeholders who work within the town are of the town of LaSalle and are optimistic about its future. So, Your Worship, I'll stop there and happy to answer any questions that members of council may have around the process or the final product. And thank you again for the opportunity to work with you.
Thank you. Administration, is there anything you want to add? No? Questions or comments from members of council? Nothing? Pretty thorough report. I think that we've been going with this for a while and we understand what's happening. I think I appreciate the time taken kind of giving us that rundown of how many people in the community have really engaged with us during this process, because it's extremely important that we are hearing the voice of the community. So thank you for including that information. At this point in time, there's a recommendation before if council has no other comments.
Move the recommendation.
Councilor Burns?
Just a quick comment. As you mentioned, I do appreciate all the data that was put into this report so we can exactly see where it all came from. We've been talking about it for over a year, but it's nice to see how the responses have come back and all the pie charts and things were greatly appreciated. So thank you very much. I will support Councillor Burns' motion.
So I have a mover, seconder, all in favor, and that carries unanimously. Thank you very much. Thank you for joining us. Feel better?
Take care, everybody.
Item 2, the NCG wrestling request for event to be declared a municipally significant event. We're Director of Culture and Recreation, Ms. Finero.
Thank you. Good evening, Your Worship and members of council. Just looking for a resolution tonight to declare, as you said, the Noble Champions Group live pro wrestling event scheduled for August 16th to be declared an event of municipal significance for the purposes of obtaining a special occasion permit from the AGCO.
Members of council, any questions or comments? Councillor Reno?
Just a quick question, Patty. Based on the past results with this group, I've seen nothing but great things and great feedback. Is there anything that we should be concerned with in providing a liquor license to this group? I don't see any, but I just wanted to make sure there's nothing I'm missing.
Thank you for the question, Councillor Reno. there have not been any issues that have been reported to me. Typically, with any event that has alcohol, they do review the event with our special event review team, which consists of members from across administration, including LaSalle Police, and also a representative from the AGCO. So typically, an event wouldn't be able to move forward if all the relevant parties hadn't been consulted and were comfortable with the event.
Okay, I appreciate the amount of work that went into that. Thank you very much.
Councillor Burns?
Yes, to Patty, I guess what I'm concerned about is the liability. Will they have liability insurance and they become one, we become second? How's that going to work? Are they going to have, what sort of security are they going to have there? There's not, in this report, it doesn't say. I mean, are there going to be our police officers acting as security because we're serving alcohol, or is it an outside security system? So those are my concerns, and if you could answer those, I'd greatly appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you for the question, Councillor Burns. We do follow the municipal alcohol risk management policy for any event that's held on town property. That outlines the required security and police requirements. Additionally, we do consult with police for each one of these rentals to obtain their feedback, and on a case-by-case basis, they sort of determine how many, if any, paid duty officers that are required. So they take a number of factors into consideration with that. But it is a consistent practice across all of the rentals, how many security guards, floor monitors, police, et cetera, are required.
Thank you for the response.
Okay, no other questions? There is a recommendation in front of you. It's moved by Councillor Reno, support by Councillor Carrick. All in favor? And that carries unanimously. Item 3 is the development of short-term rental framework and regulations proposal for consulting services, and that's our Director of Planning and Development, Ms. Beggs.
Thank you, Mayor Milosh and members of council. At the April 8th meeting of council, we brought forward a short-term rental update for council consideration. And as part of that update, administration was able to corroborate that, in fact, the short-term rental inventory in the community had doubled. And so we also heard from some members of our community at that time that we're struggling with the emergence of these STRs locally. And at that time, the recommendation from council at the April 8th meeting was to proceed with a consultant to retain a consultant to develop a regulatory program for council consideration. Also part of that recommendation was, it became evident to administration that there was an urgency for this particular program to be developed and considered, and that administration expedite this particular program and in retaining a consultant to assist us with that effort. So since that time, we have engaged with WSP, which is a recognized consultant in the field of short-term rentals. They have several municipal clients that they've worked with to develop short-term rental regulatory frameworks, including a framework that was contemplated in Fort Erie, the city of Stratford, and I believe the last one was Prince Edward County. So they have quite a bit of considerable experience in this field, combined with the fact that the town of LaSalle and administration has worked with this particular consultant before. They helped us develop our transportation and active transportation master plan. So we have a bit of a history with this consultant. We secured a proposal from them to develop a work program for this particular regulatory framework, which essentially will be a partnership effort, a collaborative effort between council services and planning and development. And they came up with a proposal in the amount of $50,000 to initiate the work in September of this year and conclude the work program for consideration by February 2026. So with that, we felt it satisfied council's request to expedite this particular program, and we're bringing it forward for council consideration. And the recommendation tonight is to engage with WSP on this contract. With that, I'll hand it over to council for questions.
Thank you very much. Members of council, questions? Councillor Reno?
Yes, I just have a question. It's probably for finance. You know, we have a procurement policy that asks us to go out for quotes. And the way I'm reading the report is that it's because of the urgency that council has given to move this along quicker. Is that basically why we're here tonight, is because it goes against the procurement policy? Can you just give me a little idea of how that is and where the cutoff point is? Is it actually 50,000 or is it higher or lower?
Absolutely. So according to our procurement policy, anything over $10,000, we typically want an informal request for quotation. Between up to $50,000, between 50 and 100, it's a formal RFQ. So this is obviously outside of the procurement policy, and that's why we're, bringing this to council's attention for approval. It does fall within the legislative requirements. The comprehensive economic trade agreement threshold for services, $340,000, and the comprehensive free trade agreement, that threshold is $133,000. So legislatively, according to those free trade agreements, we are meeting the legislative requirements, but we are falling outside of our own procurement policy, and that's why we're asking for approval to move forward. Typically, with this type of service, we'd want to make sure we have a reputable vendor, so we wouldn't really typically do an RFQ. We'd probably do an RFP to make sure that the rating system, make sure that they have good experience, references, and whatnot. And that takes time. So if, to prepare the RFP, go out for a competitive process, rank it and whatnot, that can take 2 to 3 months at a minimum. And given that we want to expedite this, the proposed service provider is reputable, and we're going to council for approval.
Okay, so just to confirm, if this is, I remember it wasn't that long ago that we had the gentleman here talking about how their neighborhood is degraded and how they would like something to happen quickly, and I remember people at the stable asking for something to happen quickly. So it's because of that that you're in front of us today to move forward with this. So I guess I'll just leave it for anybody else to comment on it. But I do remember the urgency, and I do feel for the residents that came forward and brought this forward. And it's not going to change the fact that we doubled in that year. We'll probably double again. So again, I see the urgency, and I understand why you're asking for us to move beyond the procurement policy. But I just want to leave that open for other comments.
Thank you. Any other, Councillor Carrick?
Just real fast. So in such a short time, thank you for your due diligence. This company looks excellent, and I think moving forward, we know the issues that are arising, and it's only going to get a lot worse, and there will be a lot more people living amongst other things and charging rent and so on and so on. And we just had a presentation not too long ago from Gordon Orr in that group about an opportunity to charge maybe a little bit of a surtax on short-term rentals, which will help offset a lot of our costs. So I think that's excellent. This is all moving together nicely, and thank you very much for bringing this so quickly.
I quickly just see our CAO pop up. Did you have a comment?
Yeah, yes, thank you, Madam Mayor. I think Councillor Carrick referred to the presentation from Tourism Windsor Essex Pelee Island, where we talked about the MAT tax, and I know that there's been a referral back to administration for a report on that. We are certainly, as part of that presentation, part of the conversation that's been going along with the MAT tax, we are certainly. Sorry, I'm having a little problem with my screen. There we go. We will be coming back to a report back to council prior to the August deadline that TWEPI has. But imperative on that is to have a short-term rental program in effect. Otherwise, the MAT tax program will likely be all for naught if we don't have the short-term rental program in process and in effect. So the timelines that Ms. Beggs has outlined actually fall in line with what the MAT tax timelines appear to be at this point in time. So again, with that, I just wanted to add that commentary as we go forward. Thank you.
Deputy Mayor Capetta.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, through you to our Director of Finance. One of the things I like about this is our compliance with even our own internal Canadian company policy. It's a Canadian company, As you mentioned, those two pieces of legislation and those dollar values, we're adhering to trying to shop Canadian, buy Canadian, and I understand that this company has an office here in Essex County. Having read their prospectus, where their headquarters are, and they meet all those criteria for us doing business with a Canadian company. So thank you, sir.
Okay. Any other questions or comments?
Move the recommendation.
Moved by Councillor Burns, support. Deputy Mayor Capata, all in favor? And that carries unanimously. Item 4 are County of Essex modifications to Council adopted official plan amendment OPA 2 for the Howard Bouffard Secondary Plan. And I'm going to turn it over to our Director of Planning and Development, Ms. Baggs.
Thank you, Mayor Malash and members of council. So council will recall in February of 2025, we successfully adopted the Howard Bouffard Secondary Plan. So following the adoption of that plan, it went over to the County of Essex as the approval authority. The County of Essex is requesting at this time some proposed modifications to that particular plan. This is by and large a relatively common process. It's not uncommon for the approval authority to request some additional modifications to any official plan amendment or secondary plan. And so the proposed modifications are outlined in the report. There aren't very many of them. Thematically, I think, most of them are either housekeeping or editorial in nature. There are some very specific policy changes to specific policy area 2, and those are being made to really to strengthen the policies that we originally had in that area, as well as some mapping changes to incorporate additional lands into that specific policy area 2. So following council endorsement of these mods, we will send that over to the County of Essex as the approval authority. In discussions with county planning, I'm told that they will issue a notice of decision in a week's time. Following the notice of decision, there will be a statutory 20-day appeal period, and subject to no appeals, the document will be in force and effect. So I am available for questions.
Thank you very much. In the audience today, we do have Mr. Coulthard, who applied to be a delegate, unfortunately missed the deadline, which was last Friday. So we don't have any of his submissions. He has had the opportunity to speak on the item at the last meeting, but he is asking for us to waive our current procedural bylaw and allow him to speak. But in order to do that, we would need a majority of council to agree. So if anyone is interested.
I would make that motion to allow him to speak.
Moved by Councillor Burns, support by Councillor Riccio Spagnolo. Every meeting, it gets me once. It would be a 5-minute limit. All in favor? And that carries. If you'd like to come forward, sir.
Good afternoon, Madam Mayor and members of council. Thank you for the opportunity to speak today. My name is John Coulthard, and I represent 244-2760 Ontario Limited, owners of the land at 5000 Howard Business Parkway. I'm here to discuss concerns related to agenda item number 4, and my written submission contains the details. I was not able to attach it, which is why I wasn't able to get my submission in on time. I'll keep my remarks focused on 3 key points. First, I'm requesting 2 minor but important amendments to subsection 5.3.3.7 of SPA 2 that would improve clarity and alignment with provincial guidelines. The current version doesn't specify in A that the 300-meter area of influence and Class 4 area definitions come from the Ministry of the Environment, Conservation and Parks. I suggest amending the paragraph to, in essence, read, lands within SPA 2 are as defined by MECP's D6 and NPC 300 guidelines within the 300-meter area of influence of an existing Class 2 industrial facility and are within a Class 4 area as defined by the NPC 300. This simple change helps ensure everyone understands where these requirements come from. Second, there's no language explaining that it's the applicant's responsibility to request that sensitive use lands within this area be designated as Class 4 and that warning clauses must be placed on title. I suggest adding, in essence, the following. Any application for a sensitive land use within SPA 2 must include a request for Class 4 designation and require the inclusion of Type E and F warning clauses on title as per NPC 300 guidelines. This mirrors what was done for Sterling Lakes development, which Council previously approved by Resolution 178/20. Second, I want to raise concerns about the decision made in June 2023 to remove the Crossing View Phase 1 lands from the secondary plan boundary. We were told the application was complete, but the facts suggest otherwise. The request to circulate the application didn't happen until August 25th, 2023, 2 months after the removal. The noise report wasn't finished until December 2023 and had to be amended after we pointed out issues in March 2023. And the land use compatibility study, a core requirement, wasn't even started until June 2024, and it's still not done. So I ask, how could this application have been deemed complete? These lands are within 70 meters of my loading dock. My tenant operates under an environmental compliance approval as a Class 2 facility. If sensitive uses like townhouses and condos are approved this close without applying D6 and NPC 300 protections, my tenant may be forced to shut down due to non-compliance on renewal of our ECA, severely compromising my zoning issues and obliterating my property value. This would be a devastating economic loss, and it would violate the town's duty under the Planning Act and provincial policy statement to protect the long-term industrial viability. Third and finally, I'm asking council to adopt 4 resolutions. 1, direct planning to incorporate my proposed wording changes to SPA 2 subsection 5.3.3.7a from my written submission and allow me to review it for intent before resubmission to the county. Confirm and include the Class 4 designation and warning clause requirements, again from my written submission with an opportunity for my review for intent before it goes to the county. 3, conduct a full investigation into the decision to remove the Crossing View lands from the boundary. I request that the resulting report be shared with me at least 3 weeks prior to being brought to council so that my legal team can prepare a response. And 4, include my supplied written submission and attachment in the official meeting minutes. In closing, I want to remind council that SPA 2 exists because I advocated for it. As a stakeholder, I respectfully ask to be included in discussions about it, not brought in after key decisions have already been made. I appreciate your time and consideration today, and I look forward to working constructively to resolve these issues. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Since I allowed Mr. Coulthard to speak on the item, is there anyone else here who would like to speak on this? There being none, members of council, do you have any questions or comments? Deputy Mayor Capata?
Thank you, Your Worship. Through you to our legal counsel, Mr. Coulthard has said some things I just want to confirm, and maybe you aren't prepared, so if I put you on the spot, sir. He's spoken about wording that's existed in other resolutions in other areas. To not put you on the spot, if Mr. Coulthard is correct, and we've used wording elsewhere, is he correct in suggesting this? And if so, should this be potentially a small amendment? Because if it exists, I don't know. I'm trying to pull up and reference what he said to see if it exists. I can't. So I'm hoping, sir, that you may have some information, you or any other members of the team, to support what the gentleman has just said to us.
Through you, Madam Mayor. So without certainty and really unpacking and understanding your comments, I think what Mr. Coulthard is referring to is a prior decision as part of a previous Planning Act application. And the outcome of that decision was through a number of different discussions and reporting that went through that particular applicant and the developer in consultation with Mr. Coulthard at the time. So I'm not confident or sure that those particular requirements necessarily apply in this instance. You know, the need for a land use compatibility study, the trigger for that, is identified in SPA 2. And the outcome of that study will really dictate the types of requirements or recommendations that get attached to a planning decision. And so the land use compatibility study may suggest that because of the noise analysis or the air quality assessment that was undertaken, certain ABC, XYZ recommendations need to be incorporated into the planning decision. And that might be type E and F warning clauses, or that might be a class 4 designation. So to integrate those into the document specifically today is to presuppose the outcome of a future study.
Supplementally, Your Worship. So if I understand, Mr. Coulthard may be correct. He just might be at step 1, and step 1 hasn't started yet. So I just want to make sure that I understand what the gentleman has said and what you said to me back. So I just want to make sure that that's, my understanding is correct, ma'am.
That's correct.
Dominic?
Yep. And I was just going to piggyback off of that in terms of the steps, and I know the question was directed towards me. A lot of this stuff, the planning matters, that happens first, and then when it comes to agreements or that kind of stuff, that's when it gets into my hands, and I will incorporate that accordingly. So that's kind of where I step in. So I don't feel put on the spot, but that's kind of just the process that we follow here.
Led me to one more supplemental, Your Worship, with your indulgence. You spoke about an appeal process. I think I understand what that means. Could you just explain so I can better understand what the appeal process is?
So following the approval authority, the county's decision on the Howard Bouffard Secondary Plan and OPA 2, which is what it's described as, following the notice of decision, and assuming it's a favorable one, which, you know, we're hoping for that, there will be a statutory 20-day appeal period. So if there's anybody that owns land within the Howard Bouffard Secondary Plan area that is looking to appeal that decision, they can do so within that 20-day period. And those appeals get filed with the approval authority.
Last one, Your Worship. Anyone who owns land would be able to appeal within that appropriate appeal period. How would they be notified? Who's the notifying body? Would it be the county? Would it be us? And where might those notices be posted?
So the county is the notifying body because it's their notice of decision. And through the process, individuals have had an opportunity to indicate if they've wanted to be notified of the decision. And so if you're on that list, then you'll be served notification of the decision.
Thank you, Your Worship.
Councillor Reno?
I was just looking for a little clarification of the timeline. So we approved this plan already. We've now sent it to the county, and they have suggested some rewrites. We're now saying we're good with the rewrites. You guys have looked at all of them. But now, where does this piece of paper come into play here? Should this have been in our approval originally, or have these come up since? I understand now through Deputy Mayor Ekpata's question that, you know, there may still be things to come, and this may all possibly come into play after a bunch of studies and tests are completed. But I just wanted to understand, we approved it, we sent it off for approval, they've done some rewrites, we've now said the rewrites are good, and now we're putting it back. Is that where we are in the whole thing?
That's correct. So the county and the municipality, myself, worked collaboratively on the rewrites, as you've called them. And so this is what we're proposing tonight for council endorsement. And if they're endorsed by council, they get sent off to the county and incorporated into the Howard Bouffard Secondary Plan. And then a decision by the county will be rendered.
One supplemental, talking about 20 days to appeal. Does that include these tests? If the tests are underway, do they get locked in under the 20 days? I just want to understand it a little better.
Can I just ask for a clarification on the tests?
So it talked about some studies that may tip over some of these classifications, and you'd said that there may be noise studies or dust studies and things. do they have to be complete within the 20 days, and then after that, he's out of luck? I'm just trying to get a better understanding of what everybody else's next move, and if we should be, passing these along right now, knowing that there's another chance for him with the county.
So, there have been no applications for approval in the Howard Bouffard Secondary Plan boundary area, because essentially that area has been, stalemated, if you will, until such time as the Howard Bouffard Secondary Plan is adopted. And so when developers or proponents come on board to submit Planning Act applications for development proposals, there are a number of reports and drawings and studies that need to accompany their complete application. So that is the appropriate time for those studies and reports to be undertaken and submitted to the municipality for consideration.
And last question, are any of the things that are in this paper, were any of these part of the rewrites that came back to us, or are these totally separate?
I actually haven't seen the paper. That's okay. So I'm not intimately aware. I know Mr. Coulthard has presented it, and it's my understanding that he did meet with county planning. And I'm assuming that this was sort of the lion's share of the discussion, and that factored into her proposed modifications.
Okay, thank you very much for that.
Thank you. Councillor Burns?
Thank you, Your Worship, and to planning. So we've got this document now. If we approve this plan, can this document be sent to the county as well, as an addition? Or does this document just stay here with us on file?
That document stays here with you. So the county has already issued, issued its proposed modifications, and we've come to a consensus on those most modifications, separate and apart from that, what that document says today.
Thank you.
Councillor Carrick? And sorry, before I let you go, just clarification, maybe this has been presented to the county, though, this package that you've given us this evening?
Yes, I had a conversation with the county about a lot of these issues. Right?
Okay.
These were just the ones that, to me, would enhance what was already proposed to go into the amendment. And that's why I brought it here, because it could be better.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Carrick?
So I got, just back through to Gudrun. So we don't want to stymie the future applicants by forcing something now, prejudging or pre-authorizing is what you said, something similar. Can you just clarify one more time for me?
So it's my opinion that some of the things that the delegate is requesting presupposes the outcome of a land use compatibility study. So when certain lands are brought forward for development purposes, depending on where they're located, and specifically if they're in special policy or specific policy area 2, a land use compatibility study will be triggered. And at that point, the land use compatibility study will suggest to us what the proposed recommendations are that need to be attached to a planning decision.
Okay, thank you. And then again, there is the option to appeal after. Okay, thank you.
Any other questions or comments? Councillor Burns?
Move the recommendation as presented.
Did you have a question, Deputy Mayor?
I have a question just based on the information that you just gave to us. So just to make sure that I understand, a inquiry is triggered when they move into that area, just layman's terms, and that then the information that's been brought forward may or may not be applicable once that is triggered in those specific areas. I just want to I'm just trying to paraphrase what you said to make sure that I've got it and that I don't get stuck in anything. So if you could explain what you said again in layman's terms, just to make sure that I can follow along, please, I'd appreciate it.
I'm going to make every one of you planners by the end of this meeting. So if a landowner comes forward and has a piece of property in specific policy area 2, which has been captured in the Howard Bouffard Secondary Plan, the policies within specific policy area 2 need to be read and understood by the landowner. And one of those policies and requirements will say that the landowner needs to undertake a land use compatibility study to support its development proposal. And so the landowner will undertake a land use compatibility study by a qualified expert as dictated in the plan. And the outcome, whatever the outcome of the land use compatibility study says, will be integrated into the Planning Act decision. Is that layman enough?
Yes, ma'am, it is. I understand. Thank you.
Okay. I have moved Councillor Burns, support by Councillor Carrick. All in favor? And that's carried. Thank you for joining us today. Item 5, our options to fill a council seat vacancy. Our Director of Council Services, Clerk Ms. Estralago, will present the report.
Thank you, Mayor Malash. Okay, so this evening, council has to make a decision as to how we are going to fill the seat, the vacant seat for councillor, left by the passing of Councillor Desjardins. So ultimately, council has two options here. You can appoint a person, an eligible elector, or we can host a by-election. We can conduct a by-election, and this decision rests squarely with council. The timelines for this are prescribed in the Municipal Elections Act and in the Municipal Act. So for appointment, council has 60 days from the time in which the seat has been declared vacant to appoint an individual. If council chooses to go through a by-election, that same 60 days applies, but what council has to do then is we will have to pass a bylaw to authorize the clerk's office to conduct a by-election. The qualifications are the same as a regular election. That's outlined in my report. Canadian citizen, 18 years old, live in the town, own land in the town, is a tenant in the town, and not be prohibited from voting. As you are all well aware, the administration is recommending an appointment. We are recommending appointment through a call for applications. And I attached the council vacancy policy to my report, as this was a policy that was prepared last year in draft, had not come to council because it coincided with Councillor Desjardins' approved leave. But that is the basis for the recommendation this evening. We were just going through that report, making a presumption that the policy would be adopted, and this would be the process we would follow. The policy is going to come back to council. No decisions will be made on the policy this evening. That policy will come back to council, at a later date for approval. Tonight, we just want to focus on how we're going to fill that vacancy. So I'm going to just share my screen here as I talk about our options. I just want to put up for council, just so you can see as I'm speaking, the different timelines and some of the considerations that need to be had. Okay. Excellent. I'm not sure if you can really see that. On my screen, it's much bigger. We'll have to do a better job of making it a little bit larger in the future. So if we go through an appointment process, regardless of whether we are appointing the next candidate who ran in the last municipal election, whether we're doing a call for applications, or whether council just puts a name forward and tells the clerk's office to contact that individual. The individual can be appointed, by July 8th. Relatively quickly, if we go through a by-election, there's a number of other processes and procedures that we have to go through. That process will take a little bit longer. We'll adopt the bylaw. We'll have nomination day in September, and we'll run the election in October, with the oath of office occurring October 28th. So again, regardless of the option council selected, these are the proposed timelines. The appointment process is much quicker. However, the by-election process can be done as well. So if council wishes to move forward with appointing a candidate from the previous municipal election, we would go down the list and select the first, I'll call them the first runner-up. And if they are willing to accept that appointment, then we would bring that forward to council and submit and read the oath of office and have them appointed by June 10th. If we go through that process, if the first runner-up refused appointment, we would move to the next and go down the list until all candidates who ran in the last election have been exhausted. Administration is recommending an appointment for a call for applications. This process, we would put out a notice next week advertising the vacancy. That would close in and around June 17th. We would have an appointment meeting on June 3rd, whereby each certified candidate, so each individual that put their name forward, would be able to have 5 minutes to address council, explaining why they wish to be appointed the seat at council. As part of this, I included a number of questions that we could include with an application to allow candidates the opportunity to more fully explain why they wish to sit on council, what their qualifications are, sort of more like an interview process. The way the appointment meeting would be conducted, individuals would have the opportunity to speak to council. Council would have the opportunity to ask clarifying questions, but there would not be any debate or discussion about the council qualifications. Councillors would then, sitting at the table, we would then vote via a ballot method, where each councillor would vote for their preferred candidate. Until one of the candidates received a majority number of votes, which would be 4 votes, we would continue through that process, eliminating candidates who received the least number of votes. So that's how that process would occur, and then they would be sworn in at the July 8th meeting. The last appointment method, which we are not recommending this evening, is council providing just a name that administration seeks out that individual. Moving on to a by-election. Again, this is governed very rigorously by the Municipal Elections Act. We would run the by-election in the same manner as we'd run the previous election. So it would be an electronic election. The 2022 municipal election was conducted electronically. The 2026 municipal election will be conducted electronically. So this election will also, the by-election would also be conducted electronically. It will present a strain on municipal resources if we move forward with a by-election. It's a lot in 4 months. It's basically 4 months to run this by-election, 4 to 5 months from the time the vacancy is declared. And normally the clerk's office takes about 1.5 years, 2 years to start preparing for an election. So we will be all hands on deck for this next 5 months if this is the route council wishes to move. I'm expecting it's going to cost in and around, I'm just going to go to the next slide if I can here. There we go. It will be upwards of probably $100,000, if not more. The last municipal election was just shy of $90,000, and we have a few years past. So inflation, the increase in postage costs, those sorts of things are going to increase the cost of our election. There will be a strain on municipal resources in terms of the clerk's office will be, like I said, all hands on deck. Council approved this evening the STR report. If we move forward with a by-election, the timelines for that project will most certainly be delayed depending on council services involvement. We won't be able to dedicate a lot of time to anything other than the election in the next 4 months. And the other thing to consider for council is voter fatigue and the Canada Post strike. Now, hopefully Canada Post doesn't go on strike, but that will present an additional challenge if Canada Post goes on strike. Since writing this report, there has been a number of news articles about the bargaining or lack of ability for those parties to reach an agreement. So that Canada Post strike is definitely on our minds. Electors will have to come to town hall to collect their voter information card. The other consideration is voter fatigue. Between the 2018 municipal election and the 2022 municipal election, we lost, there was a 12% decrease in voter turnout. Now, in the last municipal election, we had both a federal and provincial election within a year of the municipal election, and we did not have a mayor race or a deputy mayor race. So voters didn't come out. In this circumstance, we have a very similar fact pattern. We're only electing one individual member, and we've had 2 elections, the federal and provincial election, within the last few months. So there's a real concern from the Council Services Department that we won't see the turnout that we would otherwise hope to see in an election. So you have my recommendation before you. I'm going to stop sharing my screen. It's not my, it is not my screensaver, I can assure you that. I'm not sure, oh, there we go. That was not my screensaver. But you have my recommendation before you. I mean, we feel strongly that appointment is the way to go in this circumstance, given the timing of when an election would be held. The member of council would only be in place for about a year. Versus about 15 months if we went via appointment. And if council is not comfortable with doing an appointment through a call for applications, we would recommend appointing the next candidate who came runner-up in the last municipal election.
Thank you. I'm going to now turn it over to members of council. I'd like each of you to have your say on this because it's a very important subject. I know it's not an easy one for any of us to discuss right now. But I think it's very important that everyone has their say on how we move forward. So whoever would like to begin, Councillor Spagnuolo, you'd like to go first?
Okay, so this is a very sensitive and difficult matter for all of us. Sorry. But for myself, I'm leaning towards the electing the next appointee in the 2022 election. And the reason for that is I have a few different reasons, but one, for myself, I can't put an understanding of spending close to $100,000 in a by-election for a year for an election. Next year, we are going to election again. And for me at this time, I just don't feel like that is the right route. I also don't feel that accepting applications is the right route either. I don't want the stress or the weight on council to have to choose someone. It's a close-knit community. We may know many of those applicants, and I don't want us to be in that type of situation to have to choose an applicant in that way. I absolutely do believe in the democratic process. I just don't feel like this is the time to do that with only 1 year left on a council term. And this is tough for all of us, and it's a tough decision. And we all wish that Councillor Desjardins was still with us. Sadly, she's not. So these are just decisions that we have to make. So my vote will be going towards the 2022 next electee. Thank you.
Thank you. If it's okay with you.
Thank you, Your Worship. So I was first elected in 2000. Elected, not appointed. I finished in the spot where I was elected. So I take that, and I cherish that, and I highly regard that. So that democracy, in order to be a member of council, you have to be elected. That's my opinion. And I'm okay with a by-election. Since 2000, nobody's been more of an advocate, I think personally, than me, saying, don't spend the money, let's find other ways, let's slow things down. But this is very important. Council is the biggest position in this town. It needs to be respected. And I think a by-election is the way to go. We can find money in the general reserve, we can look for money in the next budget if we have to, but at the end of the day, that person, in my opinion, needs to be elected, like everyone else has. And it's very unfortunate about Sue, and we've all very close to Sue. And it's painful that we're going through this process, but my opinion is exactly that, what I've just stated, and I support the democratic process of an election. It's as simple as it gets for me. Thank you.
Councillor Burns?
I think everybody here supports the democratic process. Again, I'm not in favor of a by-election. I've been one that said that the taxpayer comes first, and I believe that. And I think for a 15-month period, we're going to spend $10,000 or so a month. It doesn't make sense to me. I'm not for appointing the fifth person. I think that I agree with administration's recommendation that we move forward with people who are interested, let them apply. It's open to everyone, including the person who run fifth or sixth or seventh. So again, I think it's just a waste of money to have a by-election. And, you know, we're looking at what's going on in this community. We don't know if Chrysler's going to be working in 2 years from now or 3 years from now. So there will be lots of pressures on our budget going forward. And I think this is one where I appreciate staff's time doing what we hire them to do, not run two by-elections, by-election and election. So very simply, I would take the application process, and that's what I will support. Thank you, Your Worship. Members of Council.
Councillor Reno?
Thank you, Your Worship. First of all, you know, this comes down to two major pillars here in the Municipal Act, the by-election or the appointment. I can't, I echo Councillor Burns in the way that the cost of a by-election, it's, you know, $100,000. There's a lot of things that we have done that cost $100,000 that had we not done them, had we not had the money to do them, things may have looked differently. There's money that we put towards the intersection at Matchett and Sprucewood. Had we not had that $100,000 because we used it for a by-election, where would we be today? You know, people are very happy with that amenity, and I think there's many amenities that will come forward in the future that will cost money, and to think that we spent $100,000 for a 12-month term, it just doesn't make sense to me either. The staff time, I agree 100%. You know, we get a little look inside the, you know, to the other side of the curtain at Oz. We get to see that every now and then and see how much work gets done by administration in all these departments, not just the clerk's department. And we realize that throwing something extra like this to them is going to greatly affect the outcome of other projects that may be important, like that STR framework. So I can't support the by-election. On the other side, there's three options for appointment. I can't just give you a name and say I want you to give me that name. That's nothing against the clerk's department. That one probably shouldn't even have been on the table. But thank you for the option. So it really comes down to number 6 versus application. And I want to thank the people that have emailed in. There's been a lot of emails that have come in. I want to thank the mayor for providing some very good background to those people, as we all got copied on those emails. I also got some private messages through other channels, and it was pretty well 50-50. You know, 50% said it's really easy. This person got so many votes, put him in. And then the other people brought up the fact that when they voted in the last election, they voted for 5 people, not just one. Had they voted for just one person and there was a list of people, then it would maybe make more sense to go to the next person, but they looked to put in a comprehensive team. They chose to put somebody in that has business experience, somebody that maybe has kids in grade school, early, you know. They tried to find somebody from each little knit of fabric, and you'll see that many council tables have a great representation, and voters strategically put those people in place. Sue Desjardins being the number 2 vote getter. I mean, you're really, when you're looking at the numbers, you're not looking at the difference of 500 between number 5 and number 6, you're looking at more like 1,000 or over 1,000 between what we had and what we're trying to replace. I would like the opportunity to take applications from those that are interested. Of course, anyone who ran before is obviously invited to put in their paperwork, and I think that is the best way to go. That's my personal opinion. I realize that it then puts a lot of stress on 7 people, 6 people at the front, but I mean, that's what we were put in place to do, to make some hard decisions. So that's my 2 cents.
Thank you. Deputy Mayor.
Thank you very much, Madam Mayor. For me, it's very simple. Democracy. We said no to strong mayor powers, where her worship could fire people, pass her own budget, and make decisions unilaterally. We said no. Essex County said no. Hundreds of other municipalities said no. There's a price for democracy. Right now, today, the king left after delivering the throne speech. Why did he do that? Because someone in another country is threatening to take over this country and make us a state. Simply put, we're at a crossroads. For me, it's very simple. Democracy is dirty, it's messy, but it's the best damn system we have. It's expensive. I wish it was free. I agree with Councillor Burns. I don't want to spend money. I don't want to spend a dime. Here is the but for me. Hundreds of thousands of people don't, around the world, millions don't get the opportunity to help choose their government. They don't. We now have a responsibility, in my opinion, to ensure that the democratic process takes place in the town of LaSalle. We've always conducted ourselves that way. Democracy is expensive. It is ugly. There will be posters, there will be memes, there will be all sorts of stuff on social media. It is not the best system, but it's the best damn system we have. I'm very passionate about this. For me, I will abide by the will of my peer group. I have no problem, should a by-election fail, to move on to other options. But for me, simply put, we're at a crossroads. Our country's at a crossroads. For Pete's sake, folks, the king was here. The king opened Parliament and spoke about Canadian democracy. In LaSalle, democracy has always been fostered. There's a price. There's a price for snow fences. There's a price for snow removal. There's a price for salt. And there's a price for a free and fair election to make sure that the people get to choose who their representatives are. I can only support, first pass, a full, frank, and fair election. And I realize and I understand that it will tax staff. This is the price we pay for living in a constitutional monarchy where we support the rule of the people. I was trying to find a stunning quote to end, and all I could find was quotes by American folks that I choose not to use in the sanctity of this room. There's a price for democracy, and as the clerk has said, it's $100,000. I'm going to make a motion, Your Worship, if it's appropriate, that we have a by-election. That's the motion I'm prepared to make right now.
Thank you very much. Before I speak, or do you want me to get a seconder before I speak? So we have a mover. Do I have seconder on that motion? Councillor Carrick. This is probably one of the hardest decisions I think we've faced up here in the last few years. It's personal because we've lost a friend, but it's something that means a lot to us because we are very proud of the positions that we hold. I have went back and forth multiple times on all the options that were presented. And I worry about the extra stress that we're going to put on our staff because we've been made aware over the last few months that they have very full plates. And so we can move with a by-election and it will put things on hold in the town, and I'm okay with that. But I worry about what happens afterwards and the work that just kind of was pushed down the road. I also, in the back of my mind, have the strong mayor power comment that has been going around for the last few months. And we've talked about democracy and how important it is that people have the right to vote and that we are representing the interests of everyone. And so that's part of what's been going on in my head, trying to figure out how do we move forward. And then someone made the comment to me that it's been 2.5 years. 2.5 years ago, there may have been someone who wanted to run for council who couldn't because maybe they weren't old enough yet. Maybe we have a 20-year-old who wants to be a council member. Or maybe there was someone getting ready to retire who now has the time and passion to represent our municipality. And if we simply appoint someone or choose number 6, we aren't giving a fair opportunity to everyone to run for one of these positions that we hold so dearly. So this is definitely not an easy decision for any of us tonight. I thank you all for putting forward your opinion. I know that at the end, whatever we move forward with, we'll move forward with together, and we will welcome in that new person and train them as fast as we can to get work continuing, because we know a next election means that things can stop earlier than planned. But I do want to thank you all for saying what you believe in and what you would like to see happen. I know the cost is a lot. I know $100,000 is a lot to everyone, but I also know how important it is that people get a fair say in democracy. And I also know that if there was something else going in the town that we thought was really important, that we would make sure we found a spot for that in the budget. And I don't think this item's any different. So with that, we do have a motion on the floor, and the motion is for a by-election. It's been moved and supported, and I'm going to call the question. All in favor? Opposed?
I will make a motion to accept the recommendation. Or against two.
So because we have a tie, the motion loses, just so we know. So we'll move on. Councillor Burns.
A motion that we use the recommendation by administration.
So we would be going with an application-based process.
Yes, application-based from the community.
Moved by Councillor Burns, support by Councillor Reno. And I will call the question again. All in favor? Opposed? Okay, that fails. I think we're going to have some of us are going to have to learn to move on this one, because unfortunately we have 6 members, which means we will continue to have these votes fail. So can we put the same motion forward again? Okay. So if we want to consider either of those 2 items, again, we would have to do a motion to reconsider. Councillor Reno, did you have something you want to put forward?
I appreciate all the comments about democracy, and it is true. I mean, to a point, puts a lot of pressure on the people at the front. Some people are uncomfortable with that pressure, I understand. The by-election is costly, but I would suggest that with over $50 million worth of budget, there's probably a reserve somewhere that could cover that. We would find it for other unbudgeted items, so we would find it for this. I think that in the end, whether we choose the person or a percentage of the people out there choose the person has been chosen and has been chosen by the people. I will support by-election for the reason that it will be everyone's choice. I feel sorry for the candidates because it'll be costly for them. And then they'll turn around again in 9 months, and they'll probably still have the signs and the pamphlets that they had from this month. And it'll be costly for everyone. But that is probably the will of the people. And I guess I just want to make sure that whoever is put in there has earned it and has gotten the chance. And I do honestly agree with the clerk. I don't think your turnout's going to be very high for this, between fatigue and the fact that people just look at this as a one-year term. However, it is the will of the people. I will change my vote.
So we still need a motion to reconsider, which he would be on the prevailing side. So he could make that motion to reconsider. So moved by Councillor Reno to reconsider the first motion to hold a by-election. Moved, support? Councillor Carrick. Yep, I will wait till you're ready. Yes, please.
Okay, so the rules for reconsideration are a little bit different than a regular motion. So the way the motion will work is we have the reconsideration motion on the floor for council's consideration. Two-thirds, it has to be a two-thirds vote to reconsider. If that fails, that is the last time we are considering it. I'm going to put that out there for everybody. After the reconsideration, if the reconsideration motion is adopted, we will then bring forward that motion again, and it is a majority vote. Understood? If that motion fails, that is the last time we are considering this under the procedure bylaw. If it is carried, we move forward with the by-election. Clear?
Okay, so I'm going to call the question on the motion to reconsider. All in favor? That carries. 4 to 2. Yeah.
I'd like my vote recorded no. Thank you.
If you would like a recorded vote, please let us know and we can do that right now for the whole thing. Yes? Councillor Burns? No. Do you want a full recorded vote? I think it's all or nothing for recorded vote. Yes. A recorded vote, please. So I'll turn that over to you.
All right. So the motion was the motion to reconsider to hold a by-election. When I call your name, please indicate how you have voted. And I'm just going to go around the table. Councillor Riccio Spagnuolo. Can you turn your microphone on, please?
Not in favor of the by-election.
The motion,
So, not in favor.
thank you. Councillor Carrick.
In favor.
Not in favor.
Councillor Burns, thank you. Councillor Reno.
In favor to reconsider.
Deputy Mayor Akpata.
In favor.
Mayor Milosh.
In favor.
Thank you. So now you can take it over and council can bring forward a motion.
Okay, so now that we have that, we can now put the same motion forward again, which was the motion to approve a by-election. I need a mover and a seconder for that. Moved by Councillor Carrick, support by Deputy Mayor Kapata. Are you requesting a recorded vote again?
Yes, please.
Okay.
Okay, when I call your name, please indicate how you're voting on the motion to direct the clerk to conduct a by-election. Councillor Riccio Spagnuolo.
Not in favor.
Councillor Carrick.
In favor.
Not in favor.
Councillor Burns. Councillor Reno.
In favor.
Deputy Mayor Akpata,
In favor.
Mayor Malash.
In favor.
Okay, that motion carries.
Thank you. We will now move on to item 6, which is Essex Power Corporation 2024 Annual Shareholder Meeting. There is a clerk's note. I don't know if you have any comments on that.
I have no comments.
Okay, so the Essex Power Board, which is myself and Mr. John Wodarski, vote on behalf of the town at board meetings and shareholder meetings, and directors have the authority to represent LaSalle and vote at board meetings. However, LaSalle directors must be formally authorized to represent or vote for LaSalle at shareholders meetings. So the recommendation tonight is that the correspondence received from Essex Power Corporation dated May 14th, 2025, regarding the appointment of proxy holders to cast the municipality vote as Essex Power Corporation 2024 Annual Shareholder Meeting be received, and that myself be appointed proxy holder for the town of LaSalle to cast its shareholder vote at Essex Power Corporation 2024 Annual Shareholder Meeting scheduled for June 19th, 2025, and that John Wodarski be appointed as an alternate proxy holder in my absence, and that the mayor and clerk be authorized to sign all necessary paperwork to give effect to the appointment of the proxy. Okay? Questions or comments on that recommendation? Moved by Councillor Carrick, support by Councillor Richo Spagnolo. All in favor? And that carries. Our consent agenda, we have 4 items. We have the annual LaSalle Fire Service report. If there's any questions on that report specifically, we would ask for a possible deferral as the chief is unable to join us this evening. But if you have no questions, we can approve all 4 items together. Moved. Moved by Councillor Runnel, support. Councillor Burns, no questions or comments? All in favor? And that carries unanimously. Item J1 is County Council highlights for May 7th, 2025. Any questions or comments on those? Deputy Mayor?
Thank you, Your Worship. Just for members of the community, Invest Windsor Essex did a great presentation to us, speaking about retention and expansion in light of what's going on with our neighbor to the south or north, depending on how you look at where we're situated. Invest Windsor Essex is doing their best to retain and expand opportunities for folks within Essex County, and it was appreciated, their presentation. I look forward to seeing more of the entities that support Essex County come before County Council, and hope that they will be able to come before the town of LaSalle and speak directly to our residents on the fine work they're doing in Essex County in support of pursuing economic opportunities for our folks. Thank you.
Thank you. Any questions or comments? There being none, if we can get a motion to receive the May 7th, 2025 County Council highlights. Councillor Reno, Councillor Carrick, all in favor? And that carries. Any questions or statements by council members? Councillor Burns.
Thank you. Deputy Mayor Akpata and myself have been dealing with one individual on Phragmites. I think you saw his email. He certainly wants the Phragmites to be cut along the Duck River, River Canard area. Pardon me for the lapse. So I don't know if it's our responsibility or is it the responsibility of the county. So if somebody could address that question so that we can get back to him one way or the other, please.
Mr. Osborne.
Thank you, Councilor Burns, for the question. So that the River Canard is a natural water course, so that would be the Conservation Authority that really oversees that. What we are really responsible when it comes to Phragmites is municipal drains and roadside ditches. At the moment, we have a very small spraying program, if any, but we try to do a little bit. And as this next budget approaches, I think it's something we'll look at a little more. But again, that will be in those ditches that we have authority over.
Okay, I'll make the request of Essex County Conservation Authority. The next one is Demore Drive, the grass that's owned by, I believe it's Union Gas or Enwood. It's not being cut. I got the same issue last year. Can somebody give me, because we cut ours and yet we can't cut theirs, is the way I understand it. So in order for me to get back to the gentleman involved, what process can we do under the bylaw, I guess?
So that's the Plains Midstream property that runs north and south along Demore Drive. So yes, there's a portion that's still on the Demore right-of-way that we cut. And then the piece that I think you're referring to is owned by Plains Midstream, and they're responsible to cut that. We've had discussions with them back and forth since Demore Drive's been in on frequency of cutting. So typically they don't cut as frequently as we would cut, so it looks off. At times they've depending on their personnel, they've come forward to cut it more often. So we might have had one good year, I think, where it was a little more often, and they were willing to do that. But it seems like it's fallen back into a little more rarely. So I get that's something we could open discussions up with them again. But as far as going onto their property to cut it, that does pose a bit of an issue. The other kind of issue that does come up with them in that location is they'll mow it, but they won't do any like trimming along the fence of those rear yards. So that's another point of contention, I guess, with some of those neighbors. But again, we're not really in a position to force them to do that. So we can take that back to Plains Midstream if you'd like.
Thank you for that. Just to refresh my memory to make sure that I'm right, if it's not cut, then we have the right to send them a notice on the 15th of June and request them to cut it. If not, then we will do it.
So if we approach the proponent and let them know that that we would like it to be cut, and they don't act upon the request, then we have the authority under the AMPS program to issue tickets and penalties if need be.
Thank you, and I'll leave that situation with you as well. And I need to talk to somebody about a bench on Front Road, so that can be whoever, I don't know, just direction from administration. I've got a request for one, and I'd just like to know where she wants to go in a certain spot in honor of her husband, so I don't know who to contact with that request. Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, just send the information to us. It'll flow through our Memorial Bench program. So if specifically the Parks Department. Yep, thanks.
That's it. Thank you very much, administration.
Any other questions or statements? Deputy Mayor?
Thank you, Your Worship. Just looking for some direction from admin on tenting and camping in our parks. Something's been brought to my attention, and I don't want to dissuade people from enjoying what we have. I just want to make sure if they do it appropriately and legally. So I'm just looking for who I can contact with some of the questions that have been brought to my attention from some members of the public, please.
I think this is a kind of a newer topic for us. We don't promote camping on public parks. If there's questions about it, I think they can be directed to myself and perhaps Ms. Beggs will look at it. I know this is something that police was trying to assist with as well, so that you can direct those questions our way. But I don't think we have specific language addressing this item. We just don't endorse the camping.
Thank you. And like I said, for me, it's not been problematic. I just got the question. And the old hat that I used to wear, I have that answer, but I don't have the answer from a municipal perspective. So what I'll do is I'll direct those concerns directly to both of you for consideration. Thank you very much.
Okay, no other questions or statements? We will move to our closed session report out from April, what was that? Oh, notices of motion. I skipped one. I apologize. None? Okay. Closed session, I report it from April 22nd, 2025, closed meeting council. So council moved into closed session to consider a telecommunications tower lease. Council received information and gave direction to administration. Our bylaws tonight, we have been given 2 bylaws with a first, second, third reading and finally passed. It's bylaw 2025-043, a bylaw to amend zoning bylaw 8600, the town's comprehensive zoning bylaw is amended, and 2025-052, a bylaw to amend zoning bylaw 8600, the town's comprehensive zoning bylaw as needed. Moved by Councillor Carrick, support by Councillor Burns. All in favor? And that carries. With that, we are at the end. Our confirmatory bylaw 2025-053 be given a first, second, and third reading and finally passed. Councillor Reno and Councillor Richo Spagnolo, all in favor? And that carries. There is a schedule of meetings listed below. Thank you for joining us tonight in person, online, and we hope you join us next Wednesday to clean strawberries at the Event Center. Have a good night.